Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage. Today is Marvelous Monday and I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope you're well. It's a beautiful day here in New England. It's starting to feel a little bit like winter. It's still fairly warm outside. We had a storm last night with torrential rains and windy wind, and I was glad that I'd spent the weekend battening down the hatches. So hopefully when I go out and about later and look around and see what's happened, I won't find anything missing. But that makes me think about Christmas. And even though we haven't had Thanksgiving yet, we still have a little time. I want to give you some ideas on how you can get started making your own Christmas tags and cards and gift boxes and things like that, so you have time to make them and enjoy doing it, because it's a lot of fun and we don't want to wait to the last minute and just get too chaotic. So now is the time. And I'm going to be keeping it fairly simple today. I'm just going to be using a handful of products, and I'm going to be showing you simple stamping. So just no die cuts, no embossing folders, nothing like that, just paper, ink, and stamps, and give you an idea of what some of the things are that you can do with just a handful of supplies. So let's get started. I'm going to be using a stamp set that's in the annual catalog that is actually a carryover from last year, and it's called Snowfront. And it's a really versatile set because you can make your own beautiful little landscape with this. And there's a lot of stamps in here. There are 17, and so it's something that you can use for little things like tags. You can make cards, you can decorate boxes, and today we're going to do all of those. And I'm pairing it up with a set called Itty Bitty Christmas, and these are just Christmas greetings. And there are some other extras like season's greetings, peace and happiness, Happy New Year, joy to the world, to and from, believe. So that, it's something for everybody in here. And again, there are 18 different ones. So with these two sets, you've got a tremendous amount of material that you can use to create your cards. And I'm keeping the palette very simple. So I'm just using white as my card base, and I've collected a bunch of scraps here. So you can see I've got some long skinny pieces that can be used for the greeting. I've got some other pieces to use for tags, and then I've got some envelopes. These are the beautiful Whisper White envelopes. I have some card bases. This is the Whisper White Thick, folded in half. I've got a bunch of those. And let's see what else I've got here. Okay, so I've got a vertical and a horizontal. And then I've got some, that's a different color. We're not going to use that color today. So here are some card fronts and some mats. And this is Seaside Spray. Okay, so I think I'm a little more organized now. So here are my papers. And for ink, I've got the Seaside Spray, Soft Suede, and Real Red. I've got all my stamping blocks off to the side, and for embellishments, I just have this Seaside Spray shimmer, what's it called? Metallic ribbon, and this is really pretty. I've got a bunch of these in my stash. I'm going to use them up this year, I think. And it's a really pretty, I don't know if you can see the sparkle in there. Whoops, went wrong way. There we go. You see how sparkly it is? But not only is the color great and the sparkle nice, but it's just the right width. You know, it's not too thick, not too thin, and it ties really easily. So this is one of the great ribbons that you can use not only at Christmas time, but also in the summer if you're doing some sort of seascape inspired cards. I used it quite a bit with those stamp sets last summer. And then finally I've got some adhesive back snowflakes, and these are very cute. There's a couple of different sheets in here. You get quite a lot, and they're sort of two-tone. So there are some, let me see if I can show you better. So some of them are sort of on the greeny blue side, and some of them are on the pinkish side. So they're very cute, very iridescent and sparkly. Plus they have the glue dot attached to the back already, so you don't have to fiddle with them too much. So I think that's about it for the supplies. Oh, I do have a couple of punches. So because I'm going to be making tags later, I picked out this punch, and of course I don't remember the name of it, so let's look that up real quick. I'm just looking in the back of the annual catalog, and there are quite a few punches. This is the one that we're using. It's called the Delightful, yes, it's called the Delightful Tag Topper. This is the one you usually see me use, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit today. All right. So I've got my foam pad here, and I've got my piece of Whisper White. This is the standard weight, and this measures 3 3/4 by 5. And I'm going to be using the Seaside Spray first. And as I said earlier, there are quite a lot of stamps to this set. And when you're using so many small pieces as I am today, it's often a good idea to just adhere them to the lid of your box as you're using them so you don't lose the stamp. So I'm going to start with this mountain one. I'm going to mount that up, and then I'm going to grab this one down here, which I call the swoosh. And I'm going to grab these trees that are on the little hillside, and I'm also going to use the cabin. And I'll probably want a couple of these little pine trees or spruce trees. I think they're spruce trees. So I'll grab one there. I'll put one on either side of this tiniest block. This is an A block. This is the tiniest block that's available, and it's something that you may overlook, but it's actually incredibly useful, and it really helps to give you control over these little tiny stamps. Alright, so I'm going to be doing some stamping off today. And what that means is that I'm simply putting make sure I'm on screen so you can see everything I'm doing here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm stamping my stamp into the ink pad, but then I'm going to take off some of the excess ink. So I'm going to do it this way. And then stamping on my card so I get a very light impression, and that's what I'm looking for. So there's my mountain in the background. And we can take that off. We're done with that one for now. And I'm going to take the swoosh, and I'm going to use this for some clouds. So I'm going to stamp off again and just put a shape up in the sky over there. And then I'm going to grab my tree line. I'm going to let this be a little bit darker. There we go. So I think you can see how this is starting to layer up. I'm taking my little cabin. Actually no, I think I'm going to use the soft suede for the cabin this time. It depends on how far back you want the cabin to appear. So if you want it to go way back into the distance, you could use the blue. But in this case, I think I'm going to bring it forward a little bit and use the soft suede. I'm just going to clean that up. Here's my soft suede, which is a very beautiful, kind of a neutral, cool brown. Stamp that off, and then position this right there. And now I'll go back to the blue. I'm going to add a few of these little fir trees. Now excuse me if I get my head in here. Okay, so there's two, and now I'm going to take this third one and make this a little bit darker as it comes forward. Here we go. Okay, so there's our background. That was pretty easy. Before I put the blue away, I want to add this this one. Oh, you can't see. This one, and this could either be water or it could be a path or just sort of shadows. In this case, I think it's going to be probably some water, a little stream coming down in front of the cabin. There we go. And now I'm going to switch to the larger block, and I'm going to begin to develop the middle ground. I'm going to put my blue away for a second, and I'm just going to be using the soft suede. And let me just make sure we're live. Okay, good. And for this one, I'm going to be using this larger tree. So that's this one. Get that on my block. And I'm going to stamp this off once. I want to make sure it's inked up really well. Oh, stamp off. I'm just holding that for a moment to let the ink transfer onto the paper. There we go. And now what I want want to do is get my pond. So here is a shape that can be used as a pond. So back to my blue. And you can use any colors you choose, of course. I mean, there are some beautiful greens that you could use for the balsam fir trees or the spruces, and you know, a lot of different blues and so forth. But I just wanted to keep it as simple as possible today with just a couple of different things to show you the possibilities. So there's my pond, and now I'm going to take that swoosh again. I'm going to add a little more color. There we go. All right, now I think we're done with the blue for the moment. Could be wrong. This time I'm going to take these smaller trees but I'm just going to use the branches. I'm not going to ink up the stems or the trunks of the trees. I just want them to look like, oh, we are going to use the blue a little bit more. I forgot something, so we'll come back to that. But I'm just, if you can see, I'm just putting ink on the branch portion of the trees. I want them to look like shrubs in the foreground. I'm going full strength here. There we go. And while we have the soft suede out, I'm going to add the deer. And I'm just putting those on this tiny block again. Stamping off once. There we go. Okay, so that's our composition, but I do want to add a little bit of blue. So I'm going back to that swoosh, stamping off, and I'm just going to put that under the deer, just like that. And then I think I'll just put a little bit in the foreground here. There we go. So that's our stamping done. I've got a sponge here. I hope you all have your coffee. So I've got a sponge here, and I'm just going to sponge in the sky, and I'm going to come in from the side and just put just a little, very light tone just in the sky area. There we go. So there is an example. Oh, you know what? I forgot something. We also have, let me get organized here. I also have some little cardinals. So I'm going to take my real red and I'm I'm going to grab one of these teensy, this has got to be the tiniest stamp in the catalog. So I'm just going to put a little bit of color on there. Get my pad back out again. I want to stamp off, and then put this little cardinal here. Okay. And then I'm going to take the other cardinal full strength and put this one right over here. There we go. Okay, now we can mount up our card. So I have a piece of the Seaside Spray cardstock here. Got two pieces. There we go. And just have a little piece of fuzz over here. Flip this over. I'm adding a very thin line of glue. Now the way you keep it thin is by holding the tip directly on the paper as if it were a ballpoint pen and just very gently squeezing, okay, hardly squeezing at all. And then I'm just going to put that on this mat. Now this mat is 1/4 of an inch bigger on both sides than the paper, so let me tell you what that measures. That is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Get that glue nice and smooth. And same thing on the back of here. Piece of fuzz there. There we go. Okay. So there's our card, and I also have these lovely snowflakes. So I'm going to grab some of the blue-green ones. And using my scissors, and I'll put this on a piece of card so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just sort of using the points of my scissors like a mini forklift. And I'm just going to add about, I don't know, let's say let's do 5. There we go. Okay, you see those catching the light? There we go. So that is our first project for today. And you can also decorate your envelope. So here's the envelope. I think what I'll do is I'll add the cabin. And the deer. There we go. So I think we'll do one more project. I want to show you how you can use the same thing to make a tag. So we'll put this aside. And I've got some scraps here. So this is the Seaside Spray again, and this measures 2 inches by 4 inches, but you know, whatever you have. And I'm just going to slip this into my punch all the way. And that's going to give me that beautiful top for the tag. And then I'm going to add a piece of white. So this, I'm going to cut this down to 3. Alright, and this is 1, and it's a little bit more than 1.5. But you know, anything about that size will be just fine for this. So now I'm going to take my, get my stamps back here. And this time I'm using, let me zoom you out a little bit so you can see better. I'm using this set of trees. And I'll use the blue again for those. Stamping off once. There we go. And I think we'll just add the deer. There they are. And here's a little fir tree off to the side. And I think I'll add another one on the other side. There we go. It's as simple as that. Now I'm going to mount this on my tag just like this. Super simple. This would be a great project to do with kids. There you go. And let's not forget our sentiment. So I've got a piece of scrap white paper here, and I'm going to be using the blue for this. And what will we use? Let's just go with Happy Holidays. And I'm gonna do a couple here. And then taking my punch, I'm going to punch that out leaving a little bit of room over. Let's use this one. This one came out a little bit better. So I'm going to be leaving a little bit of room to the right so I can punch a hole. So this is the 1/8 inch punch. You probably have one of these in your drawer someplace. I'm taking my ribbon and I'm just going to loop that through both of these. And there's your tag. And I think that probably took me about 5 minutes to make, so very easy. Let me clean this up a little bit so you can get a better look. There we go. So I hope that gives you some ideas, and I hope that you can see with just a few products you can do quite a bit. I'm just going to add 3 more snowflakes to my tag here. I think it needs a little bit of sparkle. There we go. I'm going to list everything that I used today to make these things down below. It'll just take me a few minutes to get that together, but if you want to check back in a little while, you'll be able to go directly to my online shop and pick up all or any of these things that you may like. And I hope that you are inspired, that you stay well, that you stay creative, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.